Good morning, YouTube. I wanted to do a quick video that I'm entitling Universal Conscription and Unrestricted Warfare. This book is Karl von Clausewitz on war. He was a general in the Franco-Prussian War that lasted from the early to late 1800s. The foundation he laid established a draft where every male capable of fighting would be conscripted only at the time of mobilization. Thus, they were able to stay within the international community guidelines on the size of their peacetime army. This was important because despite the population of France, which was greater than the population of all the states that participated in the war, the Germans mobilized more soldiers for battle. What's interesting, I think, for the conversation today is that what Clausewitz says with regards to asymmetric warfare and insurgency. He is writing here in Book 26 from the view of being the insurgent. And what he says is, by its very nature, such a scattered resistance will not lend itself to major actions closely compressed in time and space. Its effect is like that of the process of evaporation. It depends on how much surface is exposed. The greater the surface area of contact between it and the enemy forces, the thinner the latter have to spread, the greater the effect of the general uprising. Like smoldering embers, it consumes the basic foundations of the enemy forces. Since it needs time to be effective, a state of tension will develop while the two elements interact. This tension will either gradually relax if the insurgency is suppressed, or else it will build up to a crisis, driving the insurgency out of the country before he is faced with total destruction. Uncertain as we must ever be of the particular point in our circumference where an enemy may choose to invade us, the only force which can be ready at every point and competent to oppose them is the body of neighboring citizens. Now, why did I read that? I've watched a lot of videos on YouTube, and one theme I continue to see is the lone wolf and the martial law movement. They're very sure of themselves that the end is nigh, and that but yet they're ill prepared for the run-up to catastrophe. What is important is the very last line, in which he says that the only force which can be ready at every point and competent to oppose them is the body of neighboring citizens. And I think someone else said this in a video that I'm going to touch on and paraphrase. I believe that if you ain't got no friends, you ain't got nobody. That is the best prep you can do after, being on your knees in prayer. Doesn't matter how much beans you have. If you've got no one to protect them with you, or trade those beans for something else you need, then you've got nothing. We have to remember that in the 21st century, that this is an information war. Now, this is a financial war. This is trade warfare. It's entirely new forms of war. So you have to take what he said and apply it to these new forms of war. I hope this is insightful, and I appreciate your comments.